Hey all, Kurt Sasso here from TGT at Fan Expo Canada 2011. We're here with Namesake creator Isabel. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. You know, this is a great convention. I love seeing the fact that we have a good webcomic presence here. But tell us about Namesake for those that have never actually read it.
Well, Namesake is a story about people that can actually travel to different worlds, mostly fairy tale and imaginary worlds. And it follows Emma, which is a namesake that has that power, but that doesn't really know where she's supposed to go. She's a bit confused by the situation. Right now, she's lost in the land of Oz, so it gets a little confusing. And the fairy tales themselves don't always follow the written word. They're not necessarily creepier as a lot of people would make them, but they have their own reality, and you know, she has limited information as well, so she's not a big reader, so it's just confusing for her. And there's, of course, an evil organization and a good organization trying to get a hold of Namesake, so it's part fairy tale, part adventure, part conspiracy, a bit of horror, a bit of like cutesiness and jokes. It's a big mix of anything. People that would probably like it would be people that read books by Diane Wynne-Jones or Pullman, or even Discworld. It's that type of style of it.
What is it about the fairy tales that just drew you to making Namesake, though? I mean, fairy tales are basically based off of fables and folklore. Are you a bit of a history buff as well?
Yes and no. I really like mythology. I've always liked it since I was a kid. A lot of the fairy tales that we're using in Namesake I haven't read until recently. Like Alice in Wonderland, I haven't been speaking English for that long. I'm actually a francophone, so I hadn't read an actual original version of Alice until a couple of years ago. I think the whole fascination with fairy tales comes from the whole idea that they are the basic principles of every story. Fairy tales are basically where archetypes are born, and they have this magic that even though people try to reproduce nowadays, they can't exactly get that one glimpse of magic that they have, because they have all this history to back them up and all these people that love them and make them real. So I think that's what's fascinating about them, is the fact that they're so raw and also everybody loves them. It just makes them special, because you're never going to have someone that's like, I hate fairy tales. Everybody either loves them or doesn't care, so nobody hates them. It's like the universally beloved tale.
Now, the one thing that drew me to, of course, this table and of course yourself and Adriana was not just the chocolates you have on the table, but your cute little plushy characters here as well.
Yeah, the plushies and the books and all that. We've got a pretty full table. Actually, there's three of us. The co-creator of Namesake is here also, but she's been sort of wandering the con to see what's on the other tables. But we've got little plushies. We've got the other books that I wrote outside of Namesake. We've got little pins. And of course Adriana's stuff. So just a couple of everything people can combine. I'm sure they'll find something they'll like.
Well, we'll talk a bit about Jabberwocky and Rose here. Those are other series that you've written.
Yeah, Jabberwocky and Rose are books that well, Rose is pretty old. I think it's 4 years ago. Jabberwocky is from this year. They're just other books I wrote with a small editor in Quebec. I'm trying to get into this year. I want to try to actually send things to larger editors. These are sort of like test grounds to test the style. What I like about doing print comics and Namesake at the same time is that both works kind of feed off each other. There's a lot of techniques I learned while working on Namesake actually using Jabberwocky. Again, like Namesake, Jabberwocky and Rose are kind of adaptations that are a little weird and twisted. Rose is actually Romeo and Juliet, and Jabberwocky is actually just a poem of Jabberwocky from Lewis Carroll. It's about somebody fighting a giant monster. And in both cases, it also talks about human emotion. Rose is basically Romeo and Juliet, but it's also how to deal with a bad breakup. And Jabberwocky is Jabberwocky, so it's a big fighting of a monster, but it's also a book about insanity and depression.
Which Lewis Carroll did very well in many of her works there. But, you know, this is a great, large convention at Fan Expo. You know, what experiences are you going to take away from being here?
Well, first off, I'm going to learn how to take care of cons better. We're pretty pretty prepared, but sometimes there's a few things that we didn't know. This is actually our first con representing Namesake, so there's a few things that we're like, oh, we should have thought of that. Like this morning, we forgot our cash box at the hotel. The only reason why we have it is because we have good friends that brought it to us right after it opened, and we're like, yay, we have friends. So it's, you know, better organization a bit. We figure out what worked and what we did. A lot of things work, but also by going through other tables, we're figuring out other things we could add to the table, like little bracelets, things like that. And basically the good proportion of what is fan art, which sells a lot, and what is original art, and see what interests people more in those things. So basically, from this experience, we're learning how to do cons a lot, because this is such a big con and there's so many people, and we can really tell what works and what doesn't right away.
Definitely, and you know, I just want to thank you so much, Isabel, for taking the time to do this interview. But what's the website we can go to actually view Namesake and any of your other works?
For Namesake, it'd be namesakecomic.com. Straightforward. For any of my other work, you can just go to Namesake Comic, and there would be like a link to my blog, my DeviantArt page, and all that. So from Namesake, you basically got a giant turnpike to the rest of the internet where I dwell.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your convention and learn as much as you can here.
Thank you. Have a great day.